Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Backdoor Slider. I am your host, Obren and Manjencich, alongside
Jared Carver.
And today we have 4 Division Series playoff games going on, and we are going to talk about all 4 series briefly. Jared, I'm going to let you start with the American League side.
All right, so Obren, basically since probably June, I think everyone who's watched baseball closely knew it was going to be Astros-Yankees ALCS. And so far, we knew the Twins were not going to give the Yankees much of a series because they struggle in New York. They just really do. New York has bashed the ball. That series is basically over. Houston with Verlander and Cole, the best 1-2 we've seen since Schilling and Johnson in 2001 Arizona. They did what they do. Greinke got roughed up, but now Houston's going to come back with Verlander in Game 4. That series is going to be over, and we're going to be looking at Houston Yankees winner to the World Series.
While the American League seems to have 2 clear-cut favorites, the National League is wide open, although I believe, like most people, that the Dodgers will beat the Nationals. They've already taken a 2-1 game lead. I don't think the Nationals can come back. Their bullpen is too questionable, and I don't think the idea of bringing in a starter as a reliever is going to pan out for them long term. Whereas the Braves-Cardinals series is close. It's even closer than I thought it would be. Both teams have gotten great starting pitching. It's just come down to the late innings, whose bullpen is going to hold up. Both bullpens have blown a game in this series, so it will be interesting to see in Game 4 and 5 who comes out on top, but I do think the Braves will advance in that series. While the playoffs are going on, unfortunately for a lot of teams, they are sitting at home watching these games, wishing they were a part of them. But some teams overachieved even though they didn't make the playoffs. Others underachieved greatly. We are now going to talk about which players or teams overachieved or underachieved. And Jared, I'm going to start with you first.
All right, Obren. So the Red Sox win 108 games last year. They win the World Series, and they back it up with 84 wins, missing the playoffs, 3rd in the AL East. That's the definition of underachieving. A big reason was their pitching, and a big reason was Chris Sale. He had never had an ERA over 3.4 in his entire career. He comes out with a 4.4 this year. Last year, he had a 2.1. Pitching-wise, it was just dreadful. And again, 108 wins to 84. Rough year for the Red Sox. National League-wise, the theme kind of is handing out big contracts. The Phillies give the massive contract to Bryce Harper. They go make the trade for Real Muto, Andrew McCutchen, and 581 and 81, that is not what they were expecting in Philly. But the player who underachieved more than any is got to be Manny Machado. So Manny Machado gets a 10-year, $300 million deal. He has his worst batting average in his entire career. He has the most strikeouts he's ever had. He has the least amount of total bases he's ever had in his career, and his lowest home run total since 2014. $30 million, they were hoping for a little more than that down in Southern California.
Interesting picks, Jared. Unlike you, though, I did not pick players as underachievers. I picked specific teams. My American League underachiever to start with is the Los Angeles Angels. I don't understand how you can have the proclaimed best player in the game in Mike Trout and only make the playoffs once so far in his 9-year career. The other thing I don't agree with or understand in any sense is why they fired their manager after 1 season. I don't think in any sport you can expect results immediately after 1 year on the job. And the other thing I don't understand that what's going on with the Angels is their direction. I don't think they have one. The only player that they have that's marketable on their team is Mike Trout. Everyone else you can easily forget. Now, on to my National League underachiever. I have the Pittsburgh Pirates. After the first half of the season, they were at 44 and 45. The second half of the season, they went 25 and 48 and were a complete dumpster fire of a team. For a team that won 82 games in 2018, to lose 13 less. They went from 82 wins to 69, and they did worse than the Reds. No offense to the Reds, but I wasn't expecting the Reds to have a good year, and either I thought the Reds would finish last, but for the Pirates to finish last, that surprises me.
All right, Obren, I do have an issue with your underachieving American League team.
Go ahead. I'm open to discussion on this topic.
Okay, so the Angels. So they start the year off. Justin Upton first has turf toe. He's out 8 weeks. Shohei Ohtani, who's going to be their best starting pitcher, coming off surgery, he was not going to pitch this year. Remember, Tyler Skaggs dies halfway through that season. They shut down Mike Trout. There's a lot of reasons that they struggled. And the reason you get rid of Brad Ausmus is because Joe Madden is now available. You get him back. You get, obviously, used to be an organization. Ohtani comes back, pitches next year. They go get a free agent pitcher. Trout's healthy. Upton's healthy. They'll be much better next year.
I don't think Justin Upton is a part of their plans in any way of the future. Now, on to Shohei Ohtani. I am not here to watch a guy be called the Babe Ruth of Japan and sit out a year from pitching. Do pitchers get to sit out of a season? Unless they're injured, no. Do hitters get 3 days, 4 days off from hitting? No, they're back at it the next day. I understand he had Tommy John, but if I'm going to pay to watch a hitter on the Angels, it's going to be Mike Trout, not Shohei Ohtani.
So, to clarify, going into the year, they knew they would not have Shohei Ohtani, but they assumed they would have Tyler Skaggs. And listening to the players when there was the untimely passing of Tyler Skaggs, it almost felt like the season was over at that point. Not only did they lose their emotional leader in the clubhouse, but they literally lost a player on the field. And their season really spiraled out of control from that point on.
Moving on from a spirited discussion about the Angels, now let's talk about our overachievers. And since you went first for underachievers, I will go first this time. My American League overachiever was pitcher Eduardo Rodriguez for the Red Sox. He went 19-6 with a 3.81 ERA, started all 34 games, pitched over 200 innings, and struck out 213 hitters. He had career highs in wins, games started, innings pitched, and strikeouts. He led the Red Sox in wins and was the only starter with an ERA under 4, and also the only pitcher on the Red Sox to throw over 180 innings, and he was third in wins behind Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole. On to my National League overachiever is Phillies catcher JT Realmuto, who had career highs in home runs with 25, RBIs with 83, games played, and walks. He also, on the defensive side, threw out 47% of runners, which is big to me for a guy who did a lot of talking about wanting to leave Miami. I think he did great. I don't think the Phillies as a whole did good, but he stands out in my opinion.
I do find it interesting, Obren, that your two overachieving players played on the two teams that I said were underachievers. But if I'm going to talk about my overachievers in the American League, before the season started, I don't think many people knew who Max Kepler and Mitch Garver were. There's not a human on earth who had Minnesota winning the AL Central. Their discrepancy of over-under in wins was 84. They went over 100. Just an amazing season. They set the record for home runs in the history of baseball. And then my player, so I'm going to ask you a question over. Tim Anderson. So he wins the batting title, right? He hits 335. He hit 240 last year. How many walks do you think he had this year?
I know he didn't play in a lot of games, so I'm going to say he didn't have a lot of walks.
Well, he played in a decent amount of games, so he only had 15 walks, which is an all-time record for a batting average champion. 15 walks, hits 335. Absolutely, Tim Anderson completely was over his skis this year.
On to a more contentious topic among fans. It's the awards season, and I will discuss the NL, you will discuss the AL, and then we will go from there. All right, Jared?
Sounds good to me.
Unlike the AL, the NL Cy Young Award is wide open, and I think the guy who's going to emerge victorious is Steven Strasburg of the Washington Nationals, who had a very good campaign alongside his teammates. But why he stands out is because he went 18-6 with a 3.32 ERA, led the National League in innings pitched, and was in the top 5 in strikeouts. To me, the National League MVP is a bit more clear-cut, and I have Cody Bellinger winning for the simple reason that he played more games than Christian Yelich. And I will say, had Christian Yelich played more games and not gotten injured, then this would be a lot more close in the race for MVP. Otherwise, I think Bellinger's clear-cut. And my Rookie of the Year, in my opinion, it should go to Mike Soroka, who is a phenomenal young pitcher, but I do believe that Pete Alonso, in his record-setting home runs, will be the Rookie of the Year in the National League.
All right, quickly, DeGrom is going to be your National League Cy Young winner, Open. Okay, let's go to the Astros portion of the segment here. Jordan Alvarez, the highest OPS all-time by a rookie. He will be Rookie of the Year. The Cy Young, unbelievable race, Verlander, Cole. I mean, they're numbers are almost exactly the same. Verlander had his third no-hitter, 2.58 ERA, the best whip since Pedro Martinez in 2001. But Garrett Cole set a record 9 straight starts with double-digit strikeouts. His team lost once he started. Since July, Garrett Cole will be your Cy Young winner. And the fact that Mike Trout got hurt left it open for Bregman. 41 home runs. His RBIs are more than Trout. They could become the first team in baseball history to have the Cy Young, Rookie of the Year, and MVP on the same team.
You think DeGrom is going to win the Cy Young again, winning only 10 games? I think you can get by with doing it once. I don't think you can get by doing it twice.
It's just because his numbers are better in every single category.
Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today's episode. For Jared Carver, I'm Obren and Manjencich signing off. We will see you next time.